Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Armor Warfare. Today, we're going to be doing a tank review of the Type 69-2 Tier 4 Chinese main battle tank. Now, I've started to groan on the Chinese main battle tanks. At first, I was like, oh, they're just, Soviet/Russian main battle tanks, but labeled as Chinese. Which, basically, these early ones are supposed to be, if they were, real. Um, but in-game, Obsidian has done something very clever to make them different from basically every other main battle tank in the game. So, if we go here to the dealers, Zhangfang, to get to the Chinese main battle tanks, you have to, oh, jeez, I can't read, okay, in PvP, do 120,000 damage to enemy vehicles within 50 meters of friendlies, or do 600,000 damage within 50 meters of friendlies in PvE. So basically, it's not hard to get to the Chinese main battle tanks, but it takes a little bit. It took me about 3 days of not really trying to get it, but it just happened. And the Type 59, it's a tier 3, you can't really expect much of it, but the Type 69-2, on the other hand, is a crincher all of its own. As you can probably tell, this tank has ERA, but we'll talk about that more in the future. So, let's go ahead and look at the upgrades real quick. So, this is one of the only tanks in the game that has a different gun that you can get. There's other tanks in the game that you can get different guns for, but there are not that many. You upgrade from a 160, wow, geez, that's a big gun. I mean, a 100mm Type 69-2 gun to the 105mm Type 83 gun, which is a pretty big jump. The max shell for the 100mm gun has 282 damage, which is terrible, and 230mm of penetration, which is alright. And the top APDS shell for the 105 has 289 damage, it's better than the 100mm, and 236mm of penetration, which doesn't seem like that big of a jump, but you will notice it in game. Another thing is that the heat is, I believe, so much better in, the old 100mm heat, just because this is, well, it's a bigger shell, let's just put it that way. Other than that, you can get Type 79 ERA armor upgrade, which is something that I think this is the only tier 4 vehicle to get ERA. I think this is the earliest tank in the game that gets ERA, which is really cool. It makes this tank really, really flexible in what you can do with it. So, onto the engine, you basically just, with engine upgrades in this game, you get acceleration bonuses and hull traverse bonuses. It takes you half a second shorter to get up to top speed of 32 kilometers an hour, which you can get faster. I've gotten faster on it. And it just increases your hull traverse by 2.8 degrees. It's not really that essential. Other than that, you can get your standard smoke grenades, which allows a smoke grenade discharge. Just more stuff like IR sights, the TLRLA, LRF, which just improves accuracy, reduces aim time with the ballistic computer, and the gunner sight improves accuracy again. So, let's jump out of this view and go to the garage and take a look at this vehicle, which, something that I have noticed while playing these is that to make the Chinese main battle tanks different from the Soviet/Russian and the, NATO, I guess you could call them, like the Chieftain and the, well, Starships, it's out there, but, the M60s and the Abrams and stuff like that, is that they kind of combined the Soviet and American tanks to make these. So they look like Soviet vehicles, they act like Soviet vehicles when they're moving and traversing around and stuff like that. They're not that fast, they have really good armor for their class. But their guns are like they're from Western tanks. They have a decent aiming time and decent moving accuracy and decent shell velocities. And they do less damage than the Soviets, but more than the US and Western European tanks. So it's actually a really, really neat thing, really. This ERA, as you can see, is positioned at the front of the turret. So it will deflect shells at high velocity coming in there. It also has lower plates. which I think it makes this turret look really, really cool. Because without it looks like your standard stupid like T-64 turret, all rounded and not having much space on the inside. You also have ERA on the upper glacis of the hull here, as you can see. Now these get knocked off so often, it's just funny, but they do save you from taking too much damage. Especially when you get up-tiered in PvE and you fight Abrams, that's a lot of fun. So, let's do the statistics of this vehicle. So, your alpha damage with your 105mm APDS is 300, with your penetration being 236mm. So, damage per minute is about 2,414, and your reload time is 7.48 seconds, which yet again is another feature of these tanks. These tanks are not like the Soviets. They don't have autoloaders, and by autoloaders I don't mean, they have multiple shots in a drum, then you have to reload the drum. No, autoloading means that there's no loader, it loads the shell for you. So your reload time is quite decent for these guns. It's basically what the NATO tanks are. So it's nice. People look at these and are like, oh, it's just the Soviet Chinese version of a T-64, which it kind of is, but it's kind of not at the same time. So your hit points, 1,478, which is okay. I haven't checked the hit points of the other MBTs of Tier 4, but I'm saying it's pretty decent. Actually, we can look at this real quick. Hit points. It does 1,445 for the Starship, so you're up there with them. Has a little bit more in the Starship. Your max speed, going basically down a cliff, is 50.4 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast. Your 0 to 32 kilometers an hour is 7.65 seconds, and your whole traverse is 27.4 degrees a second. As I said, these are based on Soviet chassis, so they're not going to be as agile as, say, a Leopard or even the M60s. The M60s outmaneuver these. As like every other MBT, your camouflage is horrible, and like the Soviet MBTs, your view range is not very good. You cannot detect things very well. So, another thing with a kind of Soviet tank, I don't know, syndrome, I guess you could call it, is that your gun elevation and depression is not very good. You have well, I'm guessing that's supposed to be 5 degrees up and 5 degrees down, so it's not very good. 5 degrees is basically like until that barrel's touching the ERA, it's not very far. So your accuracy spread is 0.10, which is okay, I guess. I really haven't looked at the accuracy of any other vehicles. Actually, we could probably look at the Chieftain real quick. Yeah, this vehicle has an accuracy of 0.09. So it's, like I said, it's up there with the main battle tanks of NATO, which the Chieftain is a tier 5, and this thing has basically the same accuracy. Aim time of 2.38 seconds, which is very good, like the NATO tanks. Turret traverse is like the Soviets, so it's 23.1 degrees a second. It's not very fast. Basically, what I'm getting at here is that the Chinese were like, hey, we like the Soviet tank design, but we like the NATO gun. So they just basically slapped a Leopard gun in this thing, called it quits. That's what I'm getting at here. Let's take a look at the armor. So the armor composition is steel, so there will be no modifiers against different shell types. So basically you have 135mm on the front of the hull, 240mm on the front of the turret. That is not including ERA. On these whole sides you have 100mm, and on the whole rear you have 60mm. Basically, if you angle this tank nicely, you will bounce shots. This is about the perfect angle that I found, right about here. Don't know what degree that is, but it's good. And your turret sides have 180mm, and your turret rear has 60, so you can bounce quite a few shots off your turret. This is a very good hold-down tank if you don't have to look over a ridge or anything like that. If you get down in a nice hole, you can dominate. That ERA will take some shots, and then your turret front is pretty bouncy. It says 240mm, but that's if you're hitting it at a flat angle. And if you look, you could probably see it. This turret is rounded, so you're going to have a hard time getting through it. And there's really no weak points on the front of this vehicle. I do believe that as a weak point, but and we can get around that. And I do think right there you can get through, but other than that, there's really no weak points on the front of this vehicle. Other than your lower glacis. Your lower glacis is not very well defended, just like Soviet tanks. So, that's a quick overview of the Type 69-2. I think we'll get into some gameplay. So, I'll see you then. So, here we are in a Tier 5 maximum game on... Well, actually, I don't really know what the mission is, but we are in the Type 69-2. That's all that matters. So, let's take a quick gander at this vehicle. Now, if you look how I play it very much like a Soviet main battle tank. I get up close and personal, and, you know, I don't really face hug people in this game, but you basically just play like a Soviet main battle tank. You'll do fine. Another thing is that at this tier, you don't really have to worry about shot select, or shell selection, I should say, since most things don't have composite armor yet. So heat and Sabo are... It's basically if you need to shoot something that's really heavily armored. I usually load up more Sabo just because I usually get up here. Nobody plays tier 3 and 4 anymore, so, you know, whatever. But, yeah, so, as you saw there, I stuck back a bit and, you know, took some shots. So, here I see 3 enemies pop up in front, so I decided to, you know, not just sit out there out in the open, let them pin my side armor, which, by the way, is very weak. And, well, I get behind the wreck of this tank. Oh, it's a T-64 or something like that. So I get behind it. That T-62 manages to pin me through the side armor with his APDS, so I decide to rotate my hull, get my front facing towards him, get my other side behind the wreck of this tank so that Type 59 could not really do anything to me. And you see here, loading up heat, aiming at the lower glacis, but did not get the kill for it. Like any Soviet MBT, aim for the lower glacis, you'll go straight through them. Here, I drive up a bit, and I see a lot of things. So, instead of being dumb, I back up a bit and get back into cover, which is a very good thing. Now, what I meant by close quarters is that, basically this range, within 100 meters or so, your armor is reliable enough that you can bounce shots, but, you know, I took a shot there from something, I can't see what it is, the Leopard 1, and he went through my side armor. So basically just try to keep your sides hidden and you'll do fine in this vehicle. Your front with the ERA on it can take some hits, and if you angle it correctly like I'm starting to do right here, then nothing can get through it at this tier. So we mop up those tanks in front of us, and I shift my fire over to this M60, still load up with heat, goes right through the side armor, doing 358 damage, which is not bad for his tier 4 vehicle. Now, I was going to shoot that Leopard, but he kind of got into cover real fast, and I took this shot right here, because it was green, and apparently it was the track, so I need to start paying attention to my shots. But this T-64 rolls out, so I shoot him right in the lower glacis, doing 359 damage, and then somebody mops him up. So, we keep on going here, and, well, I get stuck on a rock. Don't even know, like, how that happened. There's nothing there, basically. I got stuck on a phantom rock. But, we decided to move up, and you're about to see me do something stupid here in a minute. But, you know, we all do stupid things, right? So, me and the Sheridan are pushing up on the left flank. He stops to take a shot at this M41, and something really stupid happens. I take a shot, it hits the M41, nothing happens to the M41. Then I take a hit from another M41 in the side. So, we keep pushing up here. I decide to go for a secondary objective, and, well, there's a lot of things over here. So, I take a few hits to my side armor and stuff. I popped my smoke thinking that it would work, but this Leopard 1 was pushing up on me, so it didn't really do anything. Got my track ticking out, but we got that back up in a jiffy, and I decided to back away, get back into cover. Shoot this Leopard 1 in the engine, hoping to catch him on fire, disable the engine, keeping him there, but somebody mopped him up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, loading out Sabo now, the only shells I have left. Shooting at this AMX-10P PAC-90, and this is why I know some BMD-1 behind me. And the BMDs are not very scary, especially the BMD-1. It has a 73mm gun, and the AI only fire HE, and if they hit, they don't do a lot. But as you saw right there, that guy did not even hit. Poor guy. So, I'll keep on moving up here. See this Type 69-2, basically my twin, and I was like, you know, he's stuck down there. I can only see his commander's hatch, not even worth me shooting at. So I run over and get behind the wreck of this Leopard, ain't one of my armor. Was shooting at that M41 behind him, but the other M41 drove out in front and took the shell to the side of the turret, killing him. So I hit that M41, doing 284 damage. Like I said, the Sabo does not do as much damage as the Heat. I back up thinking that that Type 69 is moved, but he has not. So I go back to shooting at this Bagel Panzer. Yet again, 285. And, well, that tank in front of me, the M60, took a hit from him, doing 48 damage. Wow, amazing. So, we now shoot this M41, hoping to finish him off pretty soon, which will happen. I decided not to waste my shell on him, but go after the bigger target, the Type 82, which is the Tier 5 Chinese and main battle tank. I'll be doing a review on that once I finally get it. So, that Type 80 went into cover, so I decided to shoot this T-62, yet again aiming for the lower Glacius, since the upper Glacius on Soviet vehicles is very good. But the M60 decided to be a douche and drive out in front of me. And, well, I thought, well, I might as well just flank this Type 80, because the M60 is going to finish off that T-62, which he did. So I decided to flank this Type 80, put one right into his side armor. Then I go for the ram, doing 56 damage, leaving him on 21 health. And, well, it's basically goodbye for him. It showed me his side armor. The pods aren't very smart, are they? No, it's only medium. So here's the Scorpion. I use my low tier field repair kit to give me back my heat, because, well, I didn't really want to fire Sabo the rest of the game. So I decided to ram the Scorpion. He's not going to do anything to my front. Like, as you can see up there in the hit box, well, the damage taken box, he did 17 damage. It's not even, like, worrying him. So, that vehicle right there, the M41 got taken out. I was going to go for him, but decide to flank around these two guys, try to get that Chieftain in the ass. But then I see a T-72 and a Walker Bulldog and a BMP-1. So I fire my heat into the Walker Bulldog, pull back and load Sabo. T-72 is a pretty tough tank. The heat can go through his lower Glacius, but I want to reliably penetrate him. So I load up the Sabo. Walker Bulldog rushes me, so I finish him off. Here we see the BMP-1. And, well, as any light vehicle does that gets caught up in the crossfire, it gets pretty much demolished pretty fast. So, I decided to shift my fire to the T-72, because I knew the M60 was going to finish off that BMP-1. So, T-72 put one shot into his lower Glacius, he shows me his side, I put one into his side armor. Now, I decided to start flanking these two vehicles, but they get taken out before I can get there. I was going to put a running shot into the side of that Chieftain, but and, well, he got killed. And that was the end of that game. So, let's just go ahead and do a little recap of the Type 69 once we get back into the garage. That's what it's called, garage. Type 69 too. It's a very good machine. I would recommend the Chinese MBTs. Though they are a bit of a grind to get to, I do believe it is fully worth it. I heard that the higher tier ones are really, really good. They match their rivals in their tiers. So here we go, earning 2,500 credits and almost 100,000. Almost 100,000 credits and 2,500 research points, getting a bunch of rewards. I actually think my crew leveled up that game too, coming top on the team with 1,500 base XP earned, doing 10,000 damage. Just about. Blocking 1,118 on my armor. Like I said, if you know how to angle your armor, this tank is going to be a breeze for you to play. And, well, that has been the Type 69 too, so I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.